Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Super-Fanta-Fi. This being a show where we talk about TV shows of the supernatural, fantasy, and or science fictional genre. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the latest episode of Emergence. A lot of interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. First and foremost, there's the whole fact is that Benny, tries to get away from the crash as soon as possible because, he sees his friend April is dead, and even the gunman being there was almost seconds away from killing him if it wasn't for there being witnesses around, so... I guess because Benny didn't want to go to a hospital or get caught up in all this because if it brings up a lot of questions he's going to have to answer. Plus, it would mean putting himself in a position where he'd end up in a hospital, which is like, you don't want to end up in a hospital because the last guy associated with all of this that ended up in a hospital ended up being killed. So he goes to the one place he knows he can go, and that's with to Joe's place. And obviously, they call over Abby, which, obviously, Benny is, pissing himself during all this because April wanted to back away from this, but, at the same time, it's like, I brought this to her, and now because of that, she's dead. The fact of the matter is her daughter's going to have to continue to grow up without a mom because of me, and so it's like, this was my friend, and I got her mixed up in all of this, and, he blames himself more so than anything, which Joe was like, no, this isn't on you, this is on Kendry. Like, he did all of this because he's trying to cover up all the death and destruction he's caused to kind of cover up things, but it's like, now because they were able to run their license plate that he was able to give, which I love that he's trying to say it, and then, like, Joe's trying to write it down, but Piper says the rest of the number, and she's like, thank you, now stop listening at the stairs. It's kind of an adorable moment, but they decide to arrest Kendry, and there is kind of like this villainous powerful moment where he's like, oh no, like I'm doing all this for your sake, saying like, oh, this ride, because now as this ride, I'm asking how long it's going to last for your sake, because while we're on this ride, you're going to enjoy it. You think you've won. You think you've beat me. But outside, the moment we step out of this car, and once this ride is over, reality is going to set in. You think that there's a limit to like how far there's a distance from where your power ends and mine begins. But it's like, no. Like, nah. I hold all the damn cards, essentially, saying like, so you enjoy this ride. And obviously Joe being who she is, and obviously being like, all right, yeah, let's go with the Ghost podcast. Yeah, let's go with that. Kind of going back to the joke she was having with Chris and everything. And it's interesting because, when the time comes, all his lawyers are there. Even the DA is there. And it's like, oh, what's up? Oh, the DA doesn't want to go down that route because there's not enough evidence. Which, even though the argument could be made, it's like, well, I don't know. It seems like he's above board, but the fact of the matter is, as powerful as Kendry is, he could easily pay off anyone to do anything. But it does seem like the DA, at least with things that go down later on, make it seem like the DA is on their side, that he hasn't been bought off. I guess that'd be kind of pushing the limits, because you never know. Because it comes down to how far someone morally would go. Like, some people might have a limit of like, oh, you pay me off this much, you'll be able to skew my morals. But who knows in this particular guy's, in this DA guy's case. But it's like, when you bring up everything that he's done, even the fact is he killed a dude with a machine using Bluetooth, and even Joe's like, I know how crazy that sounds, after Chris had said that. So I'm sure she tried to go out of her way not to mention that, but it's like, in the grand scheme of things, it's like, what happened to those bodies? Well, they got liquefied, essentially, which is like, that's on record, because even the Emmy was like, yo, what the hell, but it's like, he is someone to be, he has a lot of resources, money, and power, and borderlines on the resources, but that technology, like, they can make what seems impossible possible. So, and even for Joe, it's like, he gets to walk away. And even he was like, oh, the fact that he said it when he got arrested, like, oh, I was going easy on you. And basically he's basically telling him, oh, the gloves are off. I was holding back before, but now you prove yourself to be a damn nuisance in my way. So I'm going to destroy everything around you and everyone you care about. That involves Alex getting fired from his job, let go, because it turns out that Kendry's company bought his company, and he was the first job to go. So kind of showing just how vindictive he is and he can be in his whole regard of just like how far above and beyond he's willing to go, which even Alex is like, he's stupid if he thinks this is going to stop you from investigating, because Alex wasn't going to let this bog him down, because he knows why Joe is doing this. Like, a guy that's going this far and knowing that she's doing all this to protect Piper, it's like, he's a bad guy that needs to be stopped. So you know what we're going to do? We're going to stop him, he thinks either one of us is going to quit. That's not going to happen. So there's that situation kind of going on. There's also the interesting situation between Emily and Chris. Part of me slightly wonders that she kind of have a bit of a thing for Chris. Like, I think she's kind of gained a little bit of affinity for him. Because I was wondering that too, of like, oh, the guy who killed April was there. I'm like, how the hell did you find? I was like, the thing she built, right. The modem she built ended up attracting them so they knew exactly where they were. So she kind of did that to herself. She kind of put everyone in danger by doing what she just did. But it's like she came super close to dying. Luckily, Chris showed up in time, because if it wasn't for him, like, what's his name, Frank or Frankie, that was guarding the other cop, which I love him being like, oh, this is a puzzle piece made from a picture I took. And because she was so bored out of her mind, but she was like, wait, you're going somewhere? Wait, oh. Like, I guess it's like also like, oh, let me get out of here. Let's, but part of me wonders, has she kind of grown a little attached to Chris and his, optimism? She's a bit pessimist. He's a bit of an optimist. But I'm wondering about that. But nevertheless. So there's that whole situation. Now, obviously, once again, there's the whole thing about Benny dealing with everything he's dealing with. He goes to visit April's daughter, Gwen, to find out what's going to happen to her. She's going to move back with her dad in Buffalo. But she gives Benny the heads up of where he should go to track down this guy who killed her mom, and not give it to the cops, because I guess like all the illegal stuff April does on her computer, like she done a lot of illegal stuff, so I'm sure it's kind of like if the cops get their hands on it, they'll kind of besmirch my mom's name. Plus, as a ghost, she'll probably haunt me, giving up all her secrets like that. So she gives it to Benny. Benny lets Joe know where he's at. Benny, even though he can only move one arm, ends up trailing after the guy. Gets the crap beat out of him, and she's like, are you okay? He's like, yeah, I'm good. It's like, yeah, that was kind of a crappy plan, but hey, it kind of worked out. They luckily got inside of his apartment, warrant and all that, but he's already destroyed a computer, so whatever evidence was there is gone. But then it ties into the guy that years ago Benny believed to be his insider, but it's like he died a couple years ago. But now when you look at like lawyer stuff that Emily had looked into, could try and find stuff on Kendry, but all that stuff is wiped away, is that his partner, if he died, all the stuff was supposed to go to his widow. Well, but because of the arrangement and everything, now it all went to Kendry instead. So showing that he had motivation to kill his, partner in all of this to gain access to everything. It makes you wonder, like, how much of like this stuff with Piper is Kendry, and how much was his name Wilkers, like the other dude, like how much was it like a partnership? Was he like lower in the totem pole and he's like, oh, I want this? Maybe he put in more work, and the dude at the top kind of took, I don't know. Or maybe, like I said, maybe it was even Stevens, and he was kind of like, you know what, maybe home dude wanted to back out, but Kendry's like, no, this is a revolution, this is revolutionary, we can't back down now. But he wanted to maybe scrap the program, Kendry didn't, so hence why things happen. Which begs the question, maybe that's actually how old Piper actually is. Maybe she is only 4 years old. It could be a thing of like, she only goes back that far, or maybe, I'm curious to find out exactly how old she is, how long has she been around. Because I doubt because she's synthetic, so it's not like she's an actual kid, so it could just be a situation of like, 4 years ago when that was all set in motion, began the process of making Piper. Maybe she already existed, maybe the foundation was there, and Kendry's just the one who kind of finished everything else. Who knows? So there's that situation. So it's like that could be a lane that they go down to find some. If they can connect that dude's death to Kendry, then it's like, okay, there's a line we can go down. Because we already tried to go down the April line, but like if we can just get the ball rolling in a certain direction, we can take. But once again, this is a dude, as Benny said, 10 steps ahead of them in all that regard. There's everything with Ed going down in this episode. Obviously, he doesn't want to let anyone know that his cancer's back. He lets Abby know that, but he's kind of, I wonder I guess the whole job interview thing was kind of like, give himself an excuse so he can go into the doctor's office, because last time he told everyone it's all good, so he didn't want to come, I guess, I don't know. I guess he's covering up doctor appointments and stuff like that. Maybe he only wanted to talk. It seemed like he was there for something else besides just to talk to Abby. So that's when I'm like, I guess, he just needed an excuse to be like, oh, why I'm not around. It's like, that's why. I think it's that thing of like, he didn't want to tell anyone, because if you tell anyone, it just makes it a little more real. But obviously Piper being able to know what she knows, it's like, oh, you got something to tell everyone. What she was like, wait, what? Like, oh, she knows. She already knew beforehand, because it's like, oh, these pills are making me better. And she was like, no, they're not. So it's showing that, because she says, like, I don't see it with my eyes. I guess because, like I said, like, her powers or something is connected to, like, electromagnetism. So maybe, like, she's able to sense, like, the electrons or whatever in a person's body. And so she says she doesn't, because I was wondering, does she kind of have a bit of an X-ray thing? But I guess because, like, she is a synthetic being, and maybe because of her powers, she can almost, like, read the human body. Maybe she's kind of got, like, a Betamax type of thing. Betamax from Big Hero 6. Funny I would make that correlation just because it's like, well, this is ABC that's connected to Disney, and that's a Disney movie. I just think it's funny. Regardless, going a bit of a tangent. It's just interesting to me how she does know what she knows, and obviously she's with Mia and Ed, and Ed ends up passing out, and luckily Piper was able to kind of stop the truck, and even like Mia's looking like, whoa, what the? And when it came time to tell her parents, she didn't say anything because she was like in the truck, but it didn't hit us and everything was fine. Because I guess she's like, no, I don't want to tell Piper's secrets, which obviously I'm about to call him Axel, Jesus. Alex has some idea. Joe definitely knows because obviously she's the only one, or her and Benny know a lot more about Piper's situation, which we did finally have that confrontation of like, Benny met Piper, which Piper's asking all these questions along with Mia. It's like, how'd you get shot? Why'd you get shot? You're getting blood on our couch and everything like that. They're being the inquisitive kids that they are. And obviously Benny doesn't want to be around them a lot because Ed kind of makes it clear of like, yeah, next time you stop by, how about you don't, when someone's trying to kill you, don't come to a place filled with kids, which Benny was like, right. He wasn't thinking. He just turned to the one person he knew he could trust, and that was Joe. And so it turns into that thing of like, I'm curious what Benny is going to ultimately do. Like, obviously he's still kind of dead set on revenge. They still don't, well, they found passports of the guy in his room, but I doubt any of those are real. I'm sure all of them are fake. Well, maybe there's a real one there, but I'm pretty sure they're probably all fake, because the last thing you want to do is carry around real identification when you're supposed to be kind of like, I wonder, like, how many assassins he's got on his payroll. Are they just straight up, like, mercenaries? Are they people that, like, are they supposed to be fixers? Because his last fixer, he ended up killing him. So did he hire someone else to take over that role after killing the previous guy? Or was this guy someone that was already on the payroll anyway? Questions like that probably won't get answered, but I'm just curious about. But so there was that fascinating situation. And sadly, the situation of Joe learning the truth. And not only is like, oh, my dad's cancer is back. He doesn't want to fight it. He doesn't, like, he went through chemotherapy before, but he doesn't want to this time, which is also interesting, kind of tying into ABC, just because, like, well, a million little things, which I haven't caught up with this. I'm super far behind. I need to catch up at some point in time. Regardless, it's just the correlation is just kind of interesting when you actually think about it. But for him, I'm sure it's that thing of like, I'm old. The fact of the matter is I'm not going to be here forever anyway. And the fact of the matter is the chemo makes you, feel bad, and, it kind of drains you anyway. So why spend the rest of my life being like that on something that's not a guarantee? Because he even says the cancer's back and it's worse than ever, which a part of my mind, and I was wondering if Joe would kind of jump to this. It's like, isn't the timing kind of interesting? Like, could it be some twisted thing of Kendry actually making him even sicker than he is? But I doubt it is. I think it's just kind of like the middle finger life can, throw, the wrench that life throws at you and the middle finger that it gives you, that I butchered what I was trying to say, but I got there somewhat. But nevertheless, obviously that's not the easiest thing for Joe to hear, because she's got that on her mind, all this stuff with Kendry, everything with Piper, which, speaking of Piper, she kept seeing a door this entire episode. I was wondering, is that supposed to be like a metaphor? Is that supposed to be like some subconscious thing of like her opening this door? But it turns out we know what that is now. Basically, it's a back door that creates kind of like almost an astral plane of sorts, kind of pulling from Legion. It's basically an astral plane, kind of a world that they can digitally meet. Because for him, and he brings up, and the moment he made a reference to this painting, I was like, oh, this first shade of blue was introduced here. I was like, and that, can you imagine what it was like back then when this discovery was, this was shown to the world, like how excited everyone was. I was like, and immediately I was like, and Piper's that blue, isn't she? And he's like, yep, you're that color. because for him it's like you're my grand work of like, oh, what is capable, and it's like he wants to use this as an opportunity to be a place that they can meet, which obviously Piper doesn't know that he's the bad guy behind all this, that he's the reason why Benny got shot. The fact of the matter is the guy that's after you hurting all these different people. She doesn't know that, but eventually I'm sure that's going to tie it together when Piper finds out who he is. But the problem is, anytime Piper goes there and leaves, she doesn't remember anything. Maybe on some subconscious level, there's a part of like the machinery in her that is still keeping some record of it. Maybe it just needs to be unlocked or whatever the case may be. But for him, he's keeping in contact with her. So he's almost attacking from two different fronts. He's trying to destroy Joe and everything around her while also getting to Piper like this. I think he's trying to act. I don't know what because for him it's like you're my creation. So which also kind of gets your mind wondering. Like I brought it up before, Piper has such a specific design. That's why I'm wondering, is it a thing of like she's meant to look the way she does? Maybe because Kendry had like a little girl he lost years ago that she's supposed to be based on. So in his own way, it's almost like bringing back the little girl that he lost. That's kind of what I kind of had to, because it's just so interesting that she ends up being a little girl and she looks the way she does. Like that seems too purposeful. And on purpose for things to kind of be like that. So I'm like, okay, so there has to be a reasoning behind that and why he's so. I mean, there's one side of it being like, well, you're just a megalomaniac that you are, where it's just kind of like, oh, like this is your pinnacle of work. But I think there is a personal angle to this. Like, I mean, aside from the fact there's a personal angle of like, are you willing to kill and hurt so many people just to get this done? I think there's definitely more to it in that regard. So we'll ultimately have to wait and see. But then we have the thing at the end where Mia's like, yo, you gotta tell me the truth. Do you have superpowers? Which, she's probably gonna think like, holy crap, my pseudo little sister has superpowers. This is crazy. She's probably even gonna be like, yo, do this, do this, do this. But probably the more Piper uses those powers, eventually the more it will probably become, because it seems like there's a part of her that's consciously doing it while also subconsciously doing it. Because a lot of times it's just like, on this particular case, she's trying to protect Mia and Ed, which, we saw what happens when her power, like beforehand, what she was capable of when she's like, no, I just want to leave here. So maybe it's a thing of maybe the more of her power she uses, the more it shifts her into that. Because it almost seemed like this particular case, it seemed like she more consciously used her power. So that begs the question, like, well, what's going to happen in that regard? Like I said, I get the feeling just because of me, she's going to be like, oh, this is going to be our little secret, which obviously your mom and dad know more than they let on. So it's a thing of so many people keeping secrets, and to see like, where that's ultimately going to take us with everything. I'm very interested to see what ends up happening, especially like the Kendry and Piper conversations, what they fully entail and everything. Why specific? I mean, obviously for this particular message, you can understand why he chose a museum, but maybe there's some other reason behind it. Maybe it's like that personal connection. Maybe he took his little girl. Maybe it's not like, maybe Piper is literally the same age and looks exactly the same way as Kendry's daughter or whatever that he potentially lost. Like I said, a lot of stuff about him is probably shrouded in shadow that we're going to probably eventually have to kind of uncover. So I'm very interested to ultimately see where all this ends up taking us going forward into the next episode. But really, that's all I want to talk about. To the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.